What's going on, y'all, and welcome back to another session here at Point Noir, home of the Point Noir podcast. My name is Jerry III, aka Kimono Jack, and I'm so glad you're here with us for our 20th session of the Point Noir podcast. Now, if you don't know by now, we have a brand new IG page at Point Noir Show, so definitely give that a follow so you can stay up to date with all of our session art. If you want to see who our guests are and learn a little bit more about them, we have everybody tagged, and sometimes we run contests like we just did for the past couple weeks, and you probably want to know about that dope sort of stuff that we have going on. So, in addition to that, if you haven't yet rated or reviewed the show on iTunes or whatever platform you use, we'd really appreciate that as well, because it just shares the love, and if you appreciate the show, others might too, and they'd love to hear you talk about it as well. So we really appreciate you guys taking a couple minutes out to do that, and without further delay, let's get into introducing today's special guest. Joining us today at The Point is Jasen George. Check him out on Instagram at Mr. Renaissance _man_. Make sure you get the underscores right because you guys are really going to dig some of the photos on his page. Some of them have blown up all over the place on some of the more popular black travel pages. But he's an adventurer who's really kicked everything off in high gear this year. He grew up traveling back and forth to the West Indies as a kid growing up in Brooklyn, but this year he's committed to making his travel goals come true, and he's doing it in a big way. Everything from scuba diving to playing with jaguars to taking tremendous hikes and just feeling a rush of accomplishment when he gets to the top. This brother's out here doing it. So it's really dope for him to spend a little bit of time with us, sharing some of his tips, some of his perspectives, and I think you'll get a ton of value out of it. So sit back, grab a refreshing beverage, and enjoy today's session. Hey, what's going on, Jasen? Welcome to another session of Point Noir. Thank you for joining us. How you feeling today, bro?
My man, Jerry, how's it going? Doing pretty good.
Good, man. That's good to hear. Where are you calling from right now, by the way?
I am locally in Brooklyn, New York right now.
Okay, word. You from the BK?
Yes, sir.
That's what's up, man. I might be taking a trip up to New York soon. I think I might be near Madison Square Garden. How close is that to Brooklyn?
Distance-wise, it's about maybe 10 miles or so, but it's pretty much right there. Everything in the city is, it's within close proximity. So yeah,
Okay.
let's link up. Let's get together if you make it out here.
Yeah, man. We got a few other Point Noir alums up there too. We might have to do a little meetup, grab some food. I
Awesome.
can drink by then, so
Let's
it's
do it.
been yeah, bro. Let's get it. So and you just came back from a trip not too long ago, didn't you?
Yeah, just got back from Norway.
Hey, maybe we'll get into that today. Norway. Bet. So as is tradition around here, would you mind introducing yourself a little bit and telling us how you got into adventuring and travel and your origins?
Sure. So my name is Jasen Brendan George. Three first names.
Yeah.
Jason is the government name, and Brendan is the family name.
Hmm.
So you give me different people. Some people tell you they know me as Jason. Some people know me as Brendan. But JB is fine. I'm originally from the Caribbean. I have a Caribbean background. So growing up to me, I've always been traveling to and from the Caribbean all my life. Um, and I loved it. I love planes, love, the whole process behind getting ready, for a flight to go somewhere new, someplace different. That was my life pretty much growing up. And as I got older, I've always wanted to travel more. I've always wanted to see, the world, different countries, different islands and whatnot. So I just said, at the beginning of this year, I made I just took it upon myself as a New Year's resolution. I said, I'm going to see to it that I actually travel more this year. So I just did exactly that. Tried to live it out and travel more this year.
Yeah, I mean, you are traveling to the max, though, bro. You out here scuba diving, you underwater, you hanging out with monkeys. Like, is there a certain objective? Are you trying to hit a certain number of countries, or you're just going wherever the wind takes you, or wherever the good flights are?
So well, I don't really have a set goal as far as I want to hit, X amount of countries. It's really just opportunity. Sometimes like some of the trips I've been on, might have been randomly doing other things, and I've seen, like a flight special to go to, let's say, like actually Mexico was one of them. I was just doing, normal work, and I saw a flight special for Mexico. I was like, never been there. Okay, why not? That's how Mexico came apart. So a lot of them haven't actually been planned too far in advance. It's really just based on of, my availability for that particular, the next upcoming month, and what's out there.
Right, right,
Um,
100%. Huh.
yeah.
But I mean, the shots definitely look colorful. Y'all got to check them out on the Instagrams. Mr. Renaissance, I believe it is.
Yes, it's Mr. Renaissance underscore man underscore.
Yes, with the underscores. Yeah, it's looking
Yeah.
super lit. So,
Thank you.
what was kind of like the time difference between your experiences and where in the islands are you from?
My family's from Grenada.
Okay, okay,
Very small island in the Caribbean.
okay. Dope. So between that period of travel to see family, to go see the homeland, growing up, and this kind of spurt of travel, how much time had passed?
Well, I'd say, I mean, for the most part, for me, traveling growing up was going back to Grenada. Like, I didn't
Hmm.
really, let's say, like a lot of young kids, like they go to Disney World or, just different places in the U.S. For
Yeah.
me, it was going back to Grenada, but I actually love that, because Grenada pretty much made me and shaped me into the man I am today. So for me, going there was the only thing, and that's what I loved.
Okay.
But as an adult now, obviously you grow up, you realize there's more, there's more to the world than just going back home to the beautiful island of Grenada, but there's more out there.
Well,
Um,
I think some of us do. Not everybody does. You certainly probably know some people who are like, "Nah, bro, I'm good with Grenada." So, what was that shift for you? What made you say this is not enough? Did you get inspired by something? Did you read a story? Do you have an adventure hero?
not necessarily. I mean, I'm naturally an adventure junkie. I'm
Hmm.
always down for the thrill of trying something new or doing something new. Like, I'm that guy. If you want to go scaling some cliff or some mountain somewhere, hey, if I never did it before, I'll do it.
Right.
Um, so actually, my very first trip of the year was Iceland, and I'm young guy from Brooklyn. Iceland was so far fetched that I was like, yeah, why not Iceland? I've
Right.
never done I've never been there before. I've never actually been on that part of the world before. So I said, why not? And just that thrill from just going somewhere so far removed from what I'm used to, not only the temperature is different, but obviously the environment is different, landscape is different. Everything is different from what I'm used to doing. So I did it, and I loved it. I loved every part of it. Just the differences in the culture. Just the activities out there. It was just something different. And from that point on, I said to myself, like, yeah, I'm gonna really see through this New Year's resolution of mine.
Wow. So, what was it about Iceland that captured your attention? Was it the food? Was it the culture? It had to be more than the weather.
Oh yeah, yeah, no, no. I mean, it was just everything about just being somewhere totally different
Yeah.
that I've never been before.
Okay.
Um, and Iceland itself, it's a it's a beautiful country. Everywhere you look, everywhere you go, it's like jaw-dropping backdrops and scenery, and a lot of places I went to and I see, I'm like, oh, that this, like for instance, there's this one gorge we hiked, and it looked straight out of Game of Thrones. I'm like,
Wow.
I am watching the White Wall, like literally right in front of me. And a lot of it just like some of these scenic places that looks like you see on postcards. Like some of the places I've been to, I think I maybe two or three sites I've been to so far. I've actually seen them as a screensaver, whether it's on my laptop or on my TV. I'm like, oh yeah, that looks like some place I just came from.
Wow.
But it's just a lot of beautiful places. Just that just kept inspiring me. It's like, yo, just keep on seeing what else is out there.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, the scenery, you're right, is to die for out there. Just the landscapes, the geology itself is naturally beautiful.
Yeah, and there's things that you definitely, won't encounter almost anywhere else. Like for instance, with the Blue Lagoon. I mean, I think that's the only place in the world that actually has, something like that. As far as you're pretty much freezing cold, and when you jump in this water, the water's so warm. It's just different.
Yeah, let's talk about the Blue Lagoon because I don't think anybody on the show yet has been there. At least they haven't mentioned it, and it's kind of a go-to spot now. I think Gucci Mane was out there,
Yeah.
and I've seen a few other travelers out there. What's the deal with the Blue Lagoon? I hear there's I mean there's clearly a hot healing springs, but what was your experience like?
It was pretty cool. So when I went, it was back in May, early May. So that's like I think that's when their spring season is, I guess, just starting or so. So the weather wasn't unbearable. I had a light jacket, dressed pretty warm down below. I had some boots on, but so the weather wasn't unbearable, but it was still cold.
Right.
And the thing about Iceland is that the weather changes literally every 5 minutes.
Oh
And
wow.
and like I mean that. So it'll go from, full out snow to rain, back to sun, back to sleet, back to rain every 5 minutes. So when I got there, the weather changed about 5 times. When
Hmm.
we parked, it was, like full out snowing. By the time we got the car, the sun was out. By the time we actually, got inside the place, it was back to sleet and rain. So it was pretty cold. So I'm like, okay, how are we gonna, you know, enjoy this pool? So it's although it's warm, but it's still freezing cold outside.
Right.
So you go inside, they give you, a robe, you change into your clothes, and when you open those doors after you change your clothes, you feel that gust of the coldness that you're afraid to go into. But there's also steam and everywhere because obviously the geothermal pool is it's heated naturally. Um, So yeah, so you walk out, and then as soon as you walk out, the pool is right there. So when you walk into the pool, you instantly feel that sense of, not sense, but literally the water is really warm.
Yeah.
It feels like you're actually in a hot tub, and there's different spots throughout, I guess the whole pool region. Like some spots are hotter and colder than others, but for the
Hmm.
most part, it's freezing cold outside, obviously, and then inside the water, it's warm, really
Nice.
warm.
Nice. So is it like a luxury attraction? I see so many people doing it, and it looks like a lot of fun. I've seen people getting like massages out on these floating mats, facial
Yeah,
mats. Did you do the
yeah,
whole thing?
yeah. So it honestly really depends on how much you want to spend. Like, I mean, there's a budget as far as everyone has their own budget.
Okay.
And there's things you can do. Yeah, so that includes so the package I got, it gave me free drinks, obviously entry, block access, and obviously entry to the pool. But yeah, you can definitely pay for massages and things like that. You can pay, you can pay to get some sort of like face mask because apparently the minerals that are, I guess that it's generated from from the geothermal pool. It's actually great for your skin.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, so there's a lot of different little amenities that that you can do that add to the whole experience. That is not just a warm pool. The place is actually it's very nice. Um, there's restaurants inside. It's a pretty cool place. I mean, anyone that actually goes to Iceland, I definitely recommend that someplace as like that's something you should definitely try because you're not going to see that anywhere else.
Yeah, it seems like the hit, and I mean the pictures from it look great. It makes it look like a fun, a very unique experience.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, like what other experiences or attractions have you visited just this year alone that have stood out to you or really left an impression in your mind?
Well, quite a few. One thing I can see that jumps off the top of my head was when I went to Roatan, Honduras. Well, actually, Little French Key, which is a small island outside of Roatan. Roatan is another smaller island which is part of mainland Honduras.
Okay.
So at Little French Key, that's where I had the ability to play and encounter with jaguars and two small baby lion cubs. That
Okay.
was incredible.
Wow.
Yeah, that was something, all right.
Wow. And I think if I remember correctly, that area they do a really good job of making sure it's very humane and livable for the
Yeah,
jaguars. Like they're very professional there, aren't they?
yeah. So I mean, obviously, people are very concerned about the animals that are there because there's a lot of bad things happening to animals that are in captivity.
Hmm.
But from what I was made to understand, from the people that who did my tour with that the animals that are there, they're not they're all rescue animals.
Yeah.
They were either taken from some other whether it's the owner that didn't that couldn't take care of them, or some other environment that was not safe and or conducive to the actual island. I'm sorry, to the animals.
Hmm.
So there were a bunch of animals there. There were jaguars, there were lions, there were tigers, and throughout my whole entire experience there, none of the animals were chained. None of them were, prodded. Because I actually want to go to Bali. And there's apparently this tiger, I guess, encampment in Bali, and a friend of mine who went there, he said how he went to the tiger encampment, and what happens is that the tigers are pretty much drugged
Yeah.
and drugged to the fact that but right before you take a picture, they have to prod them so they can get up, I guess wake up,
Right.
to I guess, pose for the picture properly. But in real time, there was nothing like that at all. Even when I was playing with the jaguar, another question a lot of people had too is that how is this animal not like destroying your face and like running out of the water. But jaguars they actually love the water. They're very playful and they love playing in the water. So they pretty much put us in an environment that makes the animal comfortable, and obviously, they put us in a space that is also safe to us, and not only the animal, but the animals are very taken care of very well. There were no drugs involved. There was no coaxing on the animal's part, to make the animal do this or do that. Like it was all just pretty much winging it. They had the animal in its little house area. When I came, they had us. We met the owner of the place. They took the animal out. They had us around the animal, so for a few minutes we got comfortable with the animal. And then they said, all right, let's go in the water. We went in the water. The jaguar willingly came into the water. And now we
Yeah.
were just there swimming, playing with it. And, the jaguar jumped on my back a few times and not, doing anything, I guess wrong. It was just, they were just very playful and they loved the water.
Right.
So,
I mean, but to be fair though, you are like the size of a jaguar. You're a big dude. So I'm sure the concern. I mean, you make it look easy in the pictures, but I'm sure those are real concerns. People are like, hey man, I don't look like Mr. Renaissance
yeah,
Man.
yeah. Well, I mean, there's definitely. So obviously, I took it upon myself to lift it up out the water. After asking, the guy that was there for us to do that, and he's like, "Yeah, if you can lift it." And the jaguar actually allowed me to lift it up and carry it around the water.
Yeah.
But they're the one I had. She was just big. There's others that are different sizes. I think there's two or three of the jaguars and one black panther. Um, but yeah, that was a dope experience. I mean, I'm an animal fanatic myself, so just being in that space with a wild animal and, well, not wild per se. I don't want to say captive because that doesn't sound, saying captive animal, it sounds pretty bad, but it's, a wild animal in nature.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
That's what's up. And I've also seen some pictures of you underwater. Do you have your scuba diving license?
I don't. I don't. I
So
mean,
was that a snorkel picture, or you just grab some gear and
No, well, so I can swim pretty well, and that's just obviously me. Spent a lot of time growing up, on a small island. I've learned to swim,
right?
and I've just been lucky to been able to speak to the scuba instructors to allow me to, hey, I can swim. Watch me. I'm gonna test it out and see how I interact with it, and it just worked.
You know what? I understand it all. I don't want to make anything too messy for you, but shout out to you for that done because I yeah, okay. Shout out to
Yeah,
you.
that's that. It's essentially just kind of talking my way into a situation, and not only talking my way because I actually proved and I showed that I'm able. Because I've scuba dived maybe about three times so far, and yeah, it's just a matter of just being able to speak to the people that own the scuba diving shop And although I'm supposed to be certified, I was able to show and prove that, hey, I'm capable and I can handle the equipment. I know how to handle the equipment very well. I've done it many times before, and just so far, luckily, it's been working out for me.
Hey, listen, kids, you too can grow up and be like Mr. Renaissance Man. You can be like Jason and just, demonstrate it. Meritocracy, prove yourself,
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I love that. So what sort of travel do you engage in? We've had all kinds of guests on the show. Some are in the luxury scene, some people are doing hostels and couch surfing, some people are just hitting nice Airbnbs and trying to get a local experience. What are the sort of elements that you like to include in your adventures?
Well, when I initially started, my first goal was to try to go to the seven wonders of the world.
Oh,
Um, so that was the initial plan. So my initially I was trying to target places that actually had the seven wonders, and then kind of just do little activities around that. So that's how Mexico came into place. Also, not only did I see the flight tip, I'm like, hey, this is one of the seven. This would be perfect. So that's how that came about. But as I started, doing a little bit more research, but the adrenaline junkie in me came out. So then I then started looking for places that actually had cool and fun activities to do.
yeah.
I love hiking. Like hiking, that's like my thing. So actually, one of my last trip in Norway, that was a straight up hiking trip. And the reason why I chose there is not only because it's beautiful, but because it had this really challenging hike that I wanted to accomplish. And that the hike is called Trolltunga.
Okay.
And what it is, it's 13 to 14 mile hike up
Hmm.
a mountain. And I did it and I defeated it. So, it was a great personal goal of mine. So a lot of places, I've been going to so far, there's some sort of active activity involved in it because I love doing and trying new things. So in Roatan, not only did I get to encounter those animals, but I got to go scuba diving again. So, I try to look for trips that I can actually do something pretty fun and something cool and something different.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And this whole hiking thing, like a lot of people enjoy hiking, and it's cool to hear so many men of color talk about being in the outdoors and connecting with nature and challenging themselves.
Yeah.
Because I grew up doing that quite a bit, and it's a whole different experience, and I really enjoy it. I need to do it soon.
Oh yeah, hiking. I mean, to me, it's therapeutic.
Yeah.
It's definitely therapeutic. I mean, you're just out there, you're walking, you're just in your zone. After a while, your body may start to ache, whether it's just from you've been walking too long or you're just hungry or you're thirsty. But, it's a mental thing. Just keep pushing yourself. You have a goal in your mind and you want to accomplish it. Just keep going, keep going. Before you know it, you're at you're at your peak.
Right. And the reward from, the view or even just the experience is, it's always been rewarding.
Oh yeah, forget about it. Like, so for me, the fact that I can say I completed a 14-mile hike in 9 hours straight, like that alone is like a personal goal of mine that I'm glad I was able to, to do. Because
100%.
yeah,
Huh. You were saying, I didn't mean to cut you off. You said because?
yeah, no, because I like challenging myself. There's something new or something different I haven't done before. I'm very determined. So if I think I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it. Before I actually went, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, wow, like 14 miles walking, that sounds pretty far.
Right.
But once I committed to it, I locked in and I did it.
That's what's up. That's essentially a half marathon, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Yeah. And with that, the altitude, with the incline, I'm sure it was no joke, but that's what's up. Like,
Well, the weather wasn't the friendliest, but yeah, it was something great to achieve, to accomplish.
nice. And so when you started on this journey of, okay, I'm going to travel, I'm going to see new things, I'm going to see the seven wonders, how did you kind of organize yourself? I feel like a lot of people have trouble trying to figure out, do I want to go solo? Do I have the skills to figure it out? Or can I find a group trip? How did you engage? Were you always are you currently a solo traveler pretty much?
No, I don't travel solo. Well, half of my trips have been solo. Some of my trips I've actually been with my girlfriend.
Okay.
She's an adventurer herself too, so it's pretty much every other trip. So I, do a solo trip by myself, and then, if her job, with her job, if she's able to come, then she'll come. But it's some of my trips have been on myself. Some of the trips have been with her.
Okay. That's that's impressive on its own. I have to be solo. I don't travel well with potentially significant others.
Yeah, no,
Um,
that is definitely a hard thing to do with traveling with any other person that you're not comfortable with. Because I mean, I've had a bad experience, traveling with some, with some folks. It was my first trip with them, and I won't say bad, but it didn't work out as good as I imagined. So I am personally more inclined to be a solo traveler, only because you know I I like to just be able to get up and go as I want and not have to ask any questions. I can, just do my own thing. And I'm naturally a planner, so before most of my trips, I like to have some sort of plan, at least written down.
right.
Does it always work out? Do I always stick to it? No, but I at least like to have a plan, and just, if things get winged, I would just wing it from there, or do spontaneous when I get there.
No, 100%. Yeah. I'm on the opposite side of that. I don't like plans at all.
Yeah,
And I find some people are, I people who've been on the show, buddies of mine, they'll just show up in a country and figure it out, from getting off the airport. But that is a little bit different to be, open to improvisation but also have a plan. That
yeah,
I haven't heard that one happen a lot.
yeah, and that's essentially me, like in a nutshell. I mean, I'm naturally a planner, but I'm also the guy that I won't, I'm not afraid to stray away from the plan. Like if we plan to go to, let's say, this particular, whatever the activity is, and we're driving and we see something else that looks better, yeah, hey, let's do it. My thing is, if I have not done it before, I will 90% say yes, unless there's some health risk or something else that'll prevent me from doing it. But if I've never done it, never seen it, I'm doing it. Why not?
Right, as long as it's not illegal or immoral or unethical, I get it. I get it. Keep it
Yeah,
above board, but let's check out the new experience. I love it.
yeah.
Nice. So, has travel, you have roots from the islands, and like a lot of people do in the New York area. Has have your travels, especially your recent travels, kind of broadened your perspective of who you are as a black man in the States? You've always had perspective because you were, privy to the islands, so you got to see a
Yeah.
lot of your culture specifically. But has that grown any from the places you've been able to travel, in addition to Grenada?
Yeah, well, traveling more definitely opens your eyes, because you start to learn that the world is so much bigger than you thought. Um, you know, one of my things I tell, a lot of my friends, like the world is bigger than your neighborhood or even your city or even, even your state, the world is so much bigger than, I mean, there's so many different things out there. There's so much new experiences to learn. So me as a man, just traveling more, just opened my eyes to that. I mean, just being able to see how different people interact with men, and not only that, African American men. Um, I, luckily I will say that I have not encountered any issues as far as racism or anything like that in any places I've been to so far.
Right.
Um, but it's something, obviously, as a black man growing up in a country that you kind of, I mean, in a country, in a city or even a state, that you kind of run into different scenarios every so often, and you leave the country and it's like, wow, it's not that bad out there. Now, knock on wood, I know that, there are obviously places that racism is pretty prominent outside this country, but I've been blessed and lucky enough to not experience that, and it kind of opened my eyes to, to see to see and learn that it's racism is something that it's out there, but it's not everywhere. It's not, because I honestly thought going to some of these places, I'm actually gearing up to encounter that. And then
Oh,
when
really?
yeah, yeah,
Like
I mean,
like Norway? Like you was thinking
yes,
you'd have an issue?
no, no, I'm saying no, I didn't have an issue, but when I go to these places, like for instance, like I would say Norway and even Iceland, that there isn't any, a large African American population there. You
Right.
kind of, I don't want to say I don't want to say expected. Expecting is a bad word, but my eyes are more open to, I guess, expect it if it does happen, but it
Hmm.
didn't. So for me, it was like, wow, that's awesome. Going in, expecting to at least maybe feel some kind of slight in some kind of way, and not have it happen is like, wow, that's great.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And I mean, I completely understand it. Kind of that anticipation of, well, I'm the
Yeah,
only one out here. If something goes missing, if something happens, like I stand out like a sore thumb.
exactly. Yeah, but
Um, that's actually pretty interesting to hear from someone who travels so much because we all sometimes carry those little bit of fears or concerns with us because especially when you're a solo traveler, it's just
yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Wow. So here's a question kind of similar to that. On your returns to the States, now that you go out into the world, you might be solo, you might be with your girlfriend, you have these experiences, you broaden your horizon. How do you look at Brooklyn or, where you grew up, the environment you grew up in differently? Do you see it with new eyes now that you have all these new experiences and awareness about the world?
Well, I don't want to say I see Brooklyn different. I mean, Brooklyn is home.
Hmm.
There's no better feeling than coming back home.
Yeah.
Um, I've been lucky to travel. I've been on quite a few trips in the past few months, and there's no better part to coming back home. The only thing is obviously is the friends and the family back home that you want to kind of open their eyes out to this new world that you see.
Hmm.
For me, growing up as a young kid in Brooklyn, what we did growing up was I partied a lot. I'd be at whether it's hot Fridays or like Lucky Sat, like whatever the day was of the week, there was always a party for that day of the week. So that was me growing up. I partied a lot.
Yeah.
Um, so as I got older, and and more so recently, I'm like, well, the money I'm spending in these clubs, whether it's to buy a bottle or buy entry or whatever the case is, that's the same amount of money I'm spending on flights.
Hmm.
So instead of diverting my money into clubbing every weekend, my money just been going towards flights. And that's something I've been trying to tell, a lot of the guys in my neighborhood, and a lot of my cousins and friends. I'm like, yeah, we can go to the club, we can do this, we can do that. But imagine if we take that money, we can also buy a flight to Paris. We can buy a flight to Switzerland. Like, let's do that instead of going to the club this weekend, spending the same amount of money. So that was something that I tried to bring back. From what I learned from my trips. I definitely don't knock anyone that goes to the club and they have a good time because I'm all for a good time. But I
Yeah.
definitely try to open their eyes, like, listen, yeah, that's cool, but there's also this now. You know, the club scene, and the party scene. I mean, that's a big thing in Brooklyn. So my
Yeah.
thing was to try to show, a lot of young guys, a lot, not even say guys, a lot of young people my age, like, hey, there's more out there than just, going to the club on the weekends. Like, there's different things to do out there in this world. And a lot of times it doesn't have to be expensive. A lot of people think that traveling is this crazy, pocket blown experience, and it's not. It can be pretty cheap if you plan it appropriately, of course. But it doesn't have to be like this crazy expensive experience that you might think it is. So for me, traveling, I come back home. That was one thing I tried to to bring back and show show my friends. I'm like, guys, like, look, I'll plan it. If you're afraid to plan it, just let me plan it. And when
Right.
it's time to to book, I promise you, I'm very budget efficient. Like, we can make this happen if you're really serious about it. So that's that's essentially it.
Wow. Well, that's dope that you come back to, your neighborhood, your circles of influence and share the knowledge and set the example because, for myself, at this point, I don't really have a home due to, how my parents have moved around the country, how much I've moved,
Hmm.
so I don't always have a community to plug into where you can be a constant, model of how things can be done. So, I mean,
Yeah.
that's probably a really big influence, whether they realize it, and go on a trip with you next month or in 10 years. It's great to see, because the majority of people you grew up with aren't doing what you're doing, right?
Yeah, unfortunately not. I mean, I
Yeah.
have a few friends, who've been here, they've been there. But just in a nutshell, just traveling. in and of itself, it's something I think that everyone should try to do as often as they can. Because there's so much more to this world than just your neighborhood. There's so much more, and it's feasible. It's not impossible. One of the things I hear often is one day I'm gonna do this. One day I'm like, make
Yeah.
that one day tomorrow,
Right.
and you have to commit. So my whole thing with this, my New Year's resolution, not only was traveling more, but it's living, with conviction. I say I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it. Period. I'm gonna do whatever it takes to do it. So for me, that was traveling. And with people, I'm like, listen, make that one day tomorrow. If you're serious about it, just do it. Just bite the bullet and go for it. I promise you won't regret it because traveling is one experience that you won't get nowhere else.
Yeah.
No matter how much movies you watch, no matter how much postcards or photos you see on the net, going there and being there and seeing these things in person is completely different.
Yeah, so I'm curious because I want to wrap that a little bit. I do want to get to how people can save money and save up them coins when they're going overseas. But what would be the one thing, and let's say specifically to men of color, that
hmm
you think that they need to travel for to get the experience? What is travel going to give them that they need in their lives that they're not going to get anywhere else? What's one thing? I know there are many.
You step outside your comfort zone. And I think that is the biggest thing because doing that kind of forces you into new scenarios and new environments that you won't encounter being back home.
Yeah.
Um, for me, like for instance, one of my trips out, so I went to Mexico
Hmm.
all by myself. It was a solo trip. Um, and going to Mexico, you hear, Mexico's a beautiful place. There's all these nice things to do. So I'm like, all right, cool, I'll do it. But I went by myself. And I had a great time. And what I actually did was I actually went out there and I booked a few tours. One was to go see Chichen Itza, and a few other tours. And on those tours, I met so much cool people. I met a couple from Germany. I met a couple from different parts in the States. I actually met a guy that actually lived in Albany, which is not too far from where I'm at in New York City. I just met
Yeah.
so much new people, and you develop connections, you develop friendships, and you're just put into scenarios that you won't see or even encounter being back home. So as a man of color, it kind of broadens your horizons, and you can learn. And like what I got from that, I learned to hone in on my networking skills because when
Yeah.
you're out there alone, unless you literally want to be alone by yourself the whole time, it kind of forces you to interact with people. It forces you to ask questions. It forces you to do this, forces you to do that, and you won't have that same experience being back home because obviously you'll be in your comfort zone. You're like, you know what? Nah, next time. Nah, next time. But when you're out there, there is no next time. Neither now or never.
Yeah, bro, there is no next time.
Yeah.
You're right on the point. And to piggyback off what you just said, which was beautifully stated, man, really concise. Um, there's that resiliency. When you're out of your comfort zone and you survive and you
Yeah.
succeed, what else can you do? That's the question I always have is like I did this, that, and the other. Like, yo, what's next? Like, what you got? You know?
So and that's exactly right. So a trip I did after that was I went to New Mexico and I went to the White Sands National Monument, and that
Hmm.
was another hike in of itself. And it's pretty much like it's a white desert. And when I say white desert, meaning the sand is pure white. But naturally, it's you're thinking about, damn, I'm about to go hike in a desert. What if something happens? Like, what if I don't have any water? You just start thinking of all these negative scenarios because you just imagine the desert as being someplace dry. There's no one else out there. But just imagine the comfort you felt from being able to do something alone a few months ago. You're like, you know what? I'll be okay. I can do this.
Yeah.
It just kind of puts that battery in your back so that you can keep on learning to do other scenarios either on your own or just find a way to make it work.
Yeah, 100%. And again, that resilience, I think it translates over to soft skills. It could be talking to a girl in the club. It could be asking for a
Anything.
raise.
Yeah.
It really transfers over. And that's one thing that you exude, and many of all of our guests exude is they've gone through these uncomfortable situations, but you know what? They become better at whatever they were doing before, or they
Yeah,
continue to push their edge. So,
yeah,
I mean, 100%, man. That's that's it right there. And
yeah.
I
It's
wish
pretty
more
cool.
black men would do it.
We'll get there. Slowly but surely, we'll get there. I definitely try to encourage people. With my pictures and anyone that shoots me an email of a how to, I'm always open to answer any questions about what I've experienced. Or what I plan to work on. I'm always open to it. So that's one thing I definitely try to at least show that. Listen, if you want to do it, you can do it. I'm not no rich, you know, trust fund baby. Like, no, I'm a single father. I have a job, I have a great family, but I'm doing everything off of the strength of this is what I want to do. So I'm finding ways to make it happen. And it's travel for me. For some people, it might be sports. Some people, it might be, fitness goals. Whatever that goal is, if you want to do it, find a way and just get it done. Live by conviction.
100%. So y'all make sure to hit him up on Instagram. You guys will definitely see his tag in our description and stuff. But you know what? Let's hit the top three. What are the top three questions that people ask you? And you mind running through them just right now? Your answer, your go tos.
Yeah, sure, sure. Well, one top questions I get asked often is what made me start traveling. And the answer to that was I've always wanted to travel more. As I get older, I've always wanted to travel more. So I made a conscious decision to actually do that this year, and I'm just living it out by any means necessary. I'm doing exactly that, and being aware of my decision to actually do this, and I'm doing it. That's really what it is. I'm not traveling. I don't get paid to travel. I'm not doing it for any other reason other than for myself.
Right, right.
Um, yeah, so that was one question right there. What's another common question?
Did they ask you about flights or saving money or safety, things like that?
Well, another common question, I guess, is how do I afford it?
Hmm.
Which I think is it's a great question because you obviously when you see someone traveling, you just assume or you think that okay, well this guy must be some rich guy who's able to afford traveling so much. How I afford to travel is I do everything myself. And I know my own personal budget. I know how much I make, week to week, month to month. So I pretty much do everything around my budget. And that's one of the reasons, I fully support a lot of group trips. But personally, I don't think they're for me.
Right,
Um, Mainly because I know my budget and I know what I can skim back on and what I can, go all out on. Like for instance, my last trip in Norway, uh, the flight wasn't too bad, cost wise, and I chose to stay in an Airbnb. There's a lot of beautiful hotels and other inns types in Norway, but I chose to stay in an Airbnb, and that was something I was willing to skim back on because I know there were other activities I wanted to do. Like for instance, I did this activity called canyoning,
okay.
and that cost more. That one activity cost more than my actual stay in all the Airbnbs in Norway. So for that particular trip, I was okay with skimming back on where I'm going to sleep for this activity because it was something I wanted to do.
Hmm.
There were other trips, like for instance, when I went to Cuba, that's when I spent a little bit more, a little bit more money to stay in some place really nice, and the activities I did weren't that, you know, they weren't that expensive. So what I tell folks is, your own budget, you plan a trip around what you can afford. That's essentially it. I mean, you can, I definitely don't knock any travel agency or anything like that. But when I do it myself, I can see and kind of, make my own budget.
Right, right. And also tailor it to your interest, you know. Uh,
Exactly. Yeah.
if someone has elements of a trip that you're not interested in and you pay for the whole thing, you might be on the hook for that, or you get a chance to try something new and different. But yeah, it
Yep.
can go both ways.
It's a double, it can be a good or a bad thing.
Yeah,
But ultimately, as far as, traveling and how do I afford it, just do your own budget. And once you
yeah.
do it that way, like I said, you can kind of just go all out on some things or skim back on others.
Right, right. And do you have any, you mentioned Airbnb versus hotel or an inn. Do you have any specific websites you like to go to for tickets? And how much were the tickets to Norway, by the way? You said they weren't that bad, but I don't know if people realize how affordable they
Yeah,
can be.
the ticket to Norway, that if I remember exactly, it was around $300. The exact price, if I what's coming to my knowledge, is 330, but it
Okay.
definitely wasn't a lot of money. Cause when you imagine traveling, you think I don't need all this, boatload of money, but it wasn't that much at all. It was if I had to, I have to look up my itinerary, but I remember it being there somewhere around $300,
Wow.
so that wasn't bad at all.
Wow. And to get that price, did you have to use a secret magic spell or was the internet pretty helpful?
No, the internet. The site I use is Kayak.
Okay,
Um,
really?
yes,
All right, shout
Kayak.
out Kayak.
Basically, I mess with Kayak. I debate with people all the time between Google Maps versus everything. I'm sorry, not Google Maps, Google Flights
hmm
versus everything else. Google Flights is great. It's pretty cool, But what works for me is Kayak, and the reason why I like Kayak, because when you're searching flights, you have so much more filters to use to, you can filter out almost any part of your travel experience. Whether it's you can do flights and hotels there, of course, but you can pick from, places with one stops, two stops. You can filter by pricing, but also what I love the most about Kayak is the fact that if you put in a particular destination, it'll show you obviously the cheapest time to fly to that particular country.
Hmm.
So
Cheapest time of the year or cheapest time like of the day?
of the year, of the
Okay.
year. So like for instance, if you're gonna go to like let's say Grenada, and you have like a range, in mind, it'll give you one of the cheapest times to fly for that particular week or month or so, whatever, options you have available to yourself.
Okay, shout out to
So,
Kayak. They also have the really cool Go Anywhere feature where you just put in a number and they'll tell you
yeah,
all the flights that you can
yeah,
get for that price,
yes, you're right
which
about
is a
that.
pretty sweet deal.
Yeah,
Nice. Well, shoot, man, thank you for sharing all that because everyone has their different, little secret gumbo sauce, how they get their deals, how they, make it affordable. But the point is, it is possible. Like $330, I can think of something I just spent $330 for that wasn't a flight to Norway.
like,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. And that's the biggest thing I try to push. I'm like, listen, honestly, so the most expensive trip I've done so far, and not expensive because I went out and I stayed in a five-star this, no, just flight wise, and that's because I guess going to that place just cost a little bit more, and that was to Roatan. Roatan was about, I think it was between six and $700,
Okay.
and every other place I've been to so far was less than that. And
Yeah.
I've been on 8 trips in the past 5 months, and the most I spent on any one of those trips was, let's just say, 650.
Yeah.
So it's doable if you budget appropriately. Appropriately, it's definitely doable.
No, for sure. And for perspective, like you don't have to do to anyone listening, like, oh, he did, 8 trips in 5 months. If you do one trip in 1 year, that's more than doing no trips in one
It's a
year.
start. It's
So,
definitely a
keep
start.
keep it practical. Make sure you follow people for, giving positive, advice and being good role models like Jason, people that have a heart for other people, but
Yeah,
stay inspired and just make it happen on your time.
exactly.
There's no
That's exactly what it is. Like, turn that one day into tomorrow, or even let's just say for the at farthest next week. But just don't keep using that one day, one day, one day to kind of like give yourself that, okay, I got time. Like, no, just do it. Just
right.
do it.
That's 100% true. And they're definitely, I understand why people are timid. And before my first trip, I had some moments, but I had to just I bought my ticket months before. I won't even buy a ticket weeks in advance today. I bought my
Yeah,
ticket months before I thought I was going to leave the country just to get myself psyched up. So, um, I have empathy for it, but once you do it once, you're set.
yeah, of course. And like you said, obviously there's a lot of things about traveling alone or just going somewhere new. I definitely, I mean, I was there. I definitely, before my first solo trip, I was like, yeah, I would never go anywhere myself. Like
Yeah.
who does that? That's like going to movies by yourself. Like who does that? But then after you do it, it's like it's not that bad. It's actually for me, it's therapeutic and it's refreshing. It's just one of those experiences that it seems worse than it actually is. And just for people out there, you just gotta just do it. Start something someplace small, whether it's a different state, or even a neighboring country. But traveling solo, it's not that bad.
Not that bad. Definitely doable, and people that you can reach out to for their perspective if you have
Yeah,
questions. Like,
of course.
I feel like the Black travel community is pretty friendly, pretty
Yes,
open.
definitely.
So, sometimes you actually read the post instead of just looking at the picture. You learn a lot. And one thing you mentioned, I wanted to ask, how has how has being a traveling father influenced, your ideas of how you want your kids to grow up? Do you share your adventures? Are they, I'm not sure if you have a son or daughter, but are they aware of what you do? How do you share travel with them?
Yeah, so I actually have a 7-year-old son. Yeah, he's well aware of my travel. I mean, because he's older now. So that's also something that kind of just aligned with my personal goals. Is my son being a little bit older now, so I don't technically have to be there every single day.
Hmm.
I travel, every so often, but I mean, whenever I'm back home, he's typically always with me. So he's older now. So whenever I'm gone and traveling, like he knows, okay, daddy's traveling. And I send him a lot of pictures when I'm there. I've even FaceTime sometimes. I'm like, hey, so my son's name is Nate. So I'll
Yeah.
FaceTime like, hey Nate, look where I'm at. Look at this. Like, check this out. This is pretty cool. So that's a great experience to be able to share that with him. And one of the best moments I had was when I came back from my last trip of Norway and I did the, hiking and whatnot. Like like when I came back, I showed him the picture. I told him about what I did. He was like, "Yo, Dad, I want to go hiking with you next time." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Wow, like that's that. I mean, that's awesome. I mean, I can't wait to share that experience with him.
Yeah.
As soon as he's out, obviously school is on on break. I'm definitely gonna try to plan some trip that I can take him with me and go hiking. So it's for me as a father, it's great for me to share that moment with him and him actually understand and embrace it, and not only that, want to do it as well. So I'm
Yeah,
definitely
man.
looking forward to that.
Wow. I can only just thinking about it. I mean, that's got to be one of those proud dad moments
Yeah,
because,
man.
as this generation continues to travel, especially this black generation, you kind of want to become the things that you see. So,
Yeah.
your parents, while were you first generation or second generation?
I'm first generation.
Yeah, so your parents were going back and forth between the island, making it in America, classic
Yep.
first generation story, crushing it. But you've set a different standard, and you get to see the results of that, how it's inspiring right before your eyes, bro. That's
Yeah.
that's that's progress for the culture, man. That's what's up.
I appreciate it. Yeah. I mean, I definitely want, so some of the trips I've actually been up, I've actually wanted to take him, but just
Yeah.
knowing that, you know, like, the activities I was doing or just the hiking in general, I know it would have been too much for him, so I didn't take him. But just physically hearing him say those words that he wants to do it as well, I'm like, yeah, nah, next time I'm gonna make sure I find someplace, even if it's someplace local, that we can just try something different so you can do like that was a great feeling.
100%. And you have the Adirondacks not too far from you. I mean, you got the
Yeah,
AT
yeah,
going
no
through
way.
there. You
Yep.
got you got options, but that's dope, man.
And
Like
I've never been
you
there before too, so you just gave me an idea. Thank you for that.
Hey man, I'm here to help. I'm here to just influence. Um, that's what's up, man. Thank you so much for spending time. And before we close out of here, I want to hear where your next trip is and if you have any other ventures or projects you're working on. Oh, and you got to tell me the handle, Mr. Renaissance Man. Explain it. Explain it to me.
So the Renaissance man, it kind of fits my personality. I'd like to believe I'm the jack of all trades, and a Renaissance man is essentially that. Is a man that can pretty much fit in any environment, handle mostly any situation. But essentially the jack of all trades, and I feel like that perfectly fits me naturally. I mean, I like to believe that I'm that guy that, a lot of my close friends and family, they go to for a wide range of whatever it is, whether it's helping them fix this or just, talk to them about this, whether it's whatever it is. And I felt like, that name Renaissance Man just perfectly fits, my personality. So that's how I kind of, fell into that.
Okay. It's also in my my Instagram bio, and I was like, damn, it's his whole handle. I was like, I need to scope him out. Let me get him on the show. Let me see what's really good. I have to.
Yeah.
I need like a month to do some push-ups, but then we battle
Oh
royale.
no, we good, man. We're
Oh,
Renaissance man. We're all in together.
right. There's plenty of space for all of us because,
Yes,
as they
man.
often say, well, as I say, jack of all trades, master of some. We need each other because we ain't all got all the answers.
Exactly.
Nice. Well, what trips do you have coming up?
So I actually have a trip, my version of a Euro tour, coming up in November. I'm pretty much doing, so it's already planned actually. I'm doing 4 countries.
Hmm.
Starting off with Paris. I'm gonna do 3 days in Paris. Then from Paris, I'm gonna go on to Rome. 3 days in Rome. And then I do want to also visit Florence while in Italy. So I'll spend a day in Florence. Then from Florence, I'm gonna fly to Greece. 3 days in Greece. Then from Greece to Barcelona. 3 days in Barcelona, and then back home.
Okay, that's what's up. And hey, we'll definitely talk after the show. But since you love hiking, and maybe you might have interest in Black history, there's a really good Black history tour out there that I actually used to work for,
Hmm.
and it's a lot of walking. So if you have interest, we'll talk, and I'll at least plug you up with them because you might be interested in some of that.
Sounds great, man.
Um,
Yeah, let's do it.
yeah, and it is a bit of walking. But yeah, man, that sounds beautiful. And do you have any projects or initiatives that you have working on, cooking up a business? A slogan or something.
Well, personally, I do want to try to start doing a little bit of blogging on some of my
Okay.
trips because, a lot of people do ask me about how I do this, how do I do that. And I personally feel like if I can blog it, I'll give people a different perspective, a different look, or even just see things from my eyes, as I'm doing some of these activities or exploring some of these places. I have I've been thinking about a blog, but to be honest, like the writing part about blogging is not my favorite part. But I do
Right.
want to start documenting more of my trips more. So I'm trying to think of some kind of combination of blogging and or vlogging, just to kind of highlight that more and give people ideas of how they can do it as well. Um, so that's something I've been kind of brainstorming on. I haven't put any things in place yet. 'Cause I'm still in the brainstorming stage, but that's something I'm definitely working towards.
That's what's up, bro. That's what's up. And I'm sure once you figure out your content creation strategy, it's going to be fire because your Instagram's already lit.
Thank you, man. I
It
appreciate
is
it.
well lit. It is well doused in the gasoline. It's dope. But
Thanks,
yeah,
man.
man, dude,
Yeah.
this has been a great time talking to you, getting to know you a little bit in depth more. And like, frankly, dude, you're making changes in the culture, man, and you're at a cool intersection.
Thank you.
As a black man, as a first generation immigrant, as a world traveler, as a father, bro, a lot to be proud of. So I'm
Thank you,
really
man. I
humbled that
really appreciate that.
yeah, man, I'm humbled you're here with us and I'm glad to share this.
All right.
Yeah, man. All right, well, we'll talk soon and thanks again, bro. Be easy, be safe out there. But
No
we'll
problem, my
talk.
brother. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. All right, take care.
All right, brother.
It is always a dope thing to sit and spend time talking to another Renaissance man, another jack of all trades. Thank you so much, Jason, for stopping by and sharing your experience, story, and wisdom with us. And I hope you guys really dug it. Make sure you check him out on Instagram at Mr. Renaissance _man_. Don't trip on those underscores, but it's in the show details just in case. Also, if you follow our new IG page at Point Noir Show, all that stuff will be there. It's a little bit under construction right now, but trust me, it'll all be there. Wanted to give a personal shout out to Passport Required, Darnell Walker, and whoever else helped with our recent contest. We did a little collaboration, a little Justice League, a little Avengers move right quick to help sponsor people to get their passports. So we ran a contest where all you had to do was say what having a passport would mean to you, pretty much what we used to do on Twitter, but we did it on Instagram just for October, and they were willing to partner, help give out gift cards while we sponsored the passport. And I just really appreciate the camaraderie, the community, the support. So thanks again, Passport Required. And you guys make sure you check them out if you want to go on some dope random adventures to anywhere, because literally you sign up for a great price and you have no idea where you're going. You just pop off, but you have the time of your life. Again, they've done over 30 trips in the past 3 years, so that says a lot for the sort of value that they're adding to people's travel experiences. So check them out on Instagram at PassportREQ, and again, they're tagged all over our page. So basically, go to our Instagram and you'll have all the keys to the game, y'all. This has been session 20 of the Point Noir podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. I am Jerry the Third, signing off.